The night sky above Millfield, Colorado was perfectly quiet. No wind, no clouds, no sound, just stars. But then, something changed. A light appeared, far away at first, just a small dot in the sky, like a falling star. But it was not a star. It was getting bigger, faster, closer. And then, the sound hit. A deep, heavy roar that shook every window in every house in the small town. Dogs started barking. Car alarms went off. People ran outside in their pajamas, looking up at the sky with open mouths. The light was massive now, bright orange and red. Like a piece of the sun was falling toward them, and then it crashed. The impact hit 3 miles outside of town. The ground shook like an earthquake. Windows cracked. A water tower near the edge of town leaned to one side. Birds flew out of every tree at once. Then, silence again. But a different kind of silence. The kind that feels heavy. The kind that makes your heart beat faster for no reason you can explain. Marcus Cole was sitting on his porch when it happened. He was drinking cold coffee. The same cold coffee he made every night and never finished. Staring at nothing. The way he always did since Sarah died. He saw the light. He felt the ground shake. He heard the crash. And then he just sat there, watching the smoke rise in the distance, a tall black column going straight up into the dark sky. His neighbor Tom ran over, eyes wide, still holding a TV remote. "Marcus, did you see that?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Yep." "What do you think it is?" Marcus looked at the smoke for a long moment. "Don't know," he said, "but somebody's going to find out soon enough." He was right. Within 40 minutes, the military was there. Black trucks, helicopters with searchlights, men in uniforms with serious faces and serious weapons, yellow tape going up everywhere. A voice on a loudspeaker telling people to go back inside their homes. Most people listened. Marcus did not. He walked slowly down the road toward the crash site, hands in his jacket pockets, not running, not hiding, just walking. The way a man walks when he doesn't have much left to be afraid of. A young soldier stopped him. "Sir, you need to go back. This is a restricted area." "I live here," Marcus said simply. "Sir, I understand, but I'm not going anywhere dangerous, son. I just want to see." The soldier looked at him for a moment. This old mechanic with grease still on his hands, gray at his temples. Tired eyes that had seen better days. He wasn't a threat. Anyone could see that. But rules were rules. "I'm sorry, sir. Please go home." Marcus looked past the soldier toward the crash site. He could see lights now, big industrial lights being set up. He could see the shape of something in the middle of the field. Something large. Something that was definitely not from this world. He nodded slowly at the soldier and turned around. But he didn't go home. He went around. Marcus knew these fields. He had grown up in Millfield. He had run through these fields as a boy. He knew every fence, every ditch, every old dry creek bed. He moved through the darkness quietly, the way a man moves when he knows the land. He got close enough to see, and what he saw stopped him completely. The ship was enormous, even destroyed, even broken in half with one side crushed into the earth. It was enormous. It was dark gray, almost black, with strange lines along the surface that almost looked like they were glowing faintly, even now, even after the crash. But that was not what stopped Marcus. What stopped Marcus was the soldiers standing around a small opening in the side of the ship, and what they were pulling out from inside. A pod, a medical pod of some kind, small, clear on one side, cracked in several places, leaking a pale blue liquid onto the grass. And inside the pod, a girl. She didn't look human, not exactly. Her skin was a pale silver blue color, almost like moonlight on water. Her hair was white, completely white, and floated around her head like it was still underwater even though she was in air now. Her face was thin, sharp at the jaw and cheekbones, with large eyes that were closed. She looked young, maybe 16, maybe younger. It was hard to tell. She was small, fragile-looking, and she was completely still. The soldiers were nervous. Marcus could see that from where he was hiding. They were moving carefully, speaking quietly into radios, not sure what they were holding, not sure what to do. Then one of the soldiers, a high-ranking one, Marcus could tell by the way the others listened to him, walked around the pod and examined the girl through the clear surface. "Is she alive?" someone asked. A scientist in a white hazmat suit leaned in, checked something on the side of the pod, nodded. "Barely. Life signs are very weak. She appears to be paralyzed. Her lower body shows no neural activity at all." "Paralyzed?" "Completely. From here down." The scientist gestured at the girl's waist. "She cannot move her legs. Probably hasn't been able to for a long time. The pod has been keeping her alive, but it's failing now." There was a silence. Then the high-ranking soldier spoke again, and what he said made Marcus's jaw tighten. "So she's useless as a threat. Good. Get her to the lab. I want a full biological analysis by morning." "Sir, she's a child," one of the younger soldiers said quietly. The high-ranking one didn't even look at him. "She's a specimen. Move her." Marcus moved back through the dark fields, thinking. He was not a complicated man. He had never been. He fixed engines. He paid his bills. He loved his wife. When Sarah got sick, he took care of her every single day for 2 years without complaint. When she died, he just kept going, because that's what you do. He didn't know anything about aliens or spaceships or galactic politics, but he knew one thing. That girl in the pod had been left there, left in a broken ship alone with no one coming for her. He didn't know how he knew that. He just did. The same way you know when a stray dog has been abandoned. There's something in the eyes, even when they're closed. Something about the way a person is alone that looks different from someone who is just waiting. That girl was not waiting for anyone. No one was coming. The next morning, the whole town was buzzing. News vans had arrived overnight. The story was already on every channel. Unidentified craft crashes in Colorado. Military confirms extraterrestrial origin. People were excited, scared, talking about invasions, about first contact, about what it meant for humanity. Marcus drove his truck to the edge of the military perimeter and asked to speak to whoever was in charge. They told him to go home. He sat in his truck for 6 hours. Eventually, a woman in a dark suit came to his window. She had short hair and the look of someone who had been awake for 36 hours and was not happy about it. "Mr. Cole, why are you still here?" "The girl," Marcus said. The woman's face didn't change. "I don't know what you think you saw, Mr. Cole, but—" "I saw a child in a broken medical pod," Marcus said calmly. "I saw a soldier call her a specimen. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm not going to the news. I don't want anything from anybody. I just want to ask one question." The woman waited. "Is she going to be okay where you're taking her?" A long pause. The woman looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time. "No," she said finally, quietly. "Probably not." Marcus nodded slowly, like he had expected that answer. "Then let me take her." The woman's name was Agent Diane Reeves, and she had worked in classified government operations for 17 years. She had seen things that most people would never believe. She was not a person who got surprised easily, but this surprised her. "You want to take her, a paralyzed alien girl, into your home?" "Yes." "Mr. Cole, do you understand what you're saying?" "I've got a spare room," Marcus said. "I've got a wheelchair in the garage. My wife's, never threw it out. I know how to take care of someone who can't walk. I did it for 2 years. She's not human. She's a kid," Marcus said. "And she's alone, and nobody's coming for her, and you're going to put her in a lab." Reeves stared at him. "Why would you do this?" she asked, and for the first time her voice was not official. It was just a real question, from one human being to another. Marcus looked out the windshield at the field, at the yellow tape, at the soldiers, at the smoke still drifting up from where the ship had burned. "Because somebody should," he said quietly. They let him take her, not easily, not without paperwork, not without 3 different agencies arguing for 4 hours, not without cameras installed in his house and weekly check-ins and a panic button installed by the front door. But they let him. That evening, just as the sun was going down over the Colorado mountains, Marcus Cole carried a paralyzed alien girl through the front door of his small house on Elm Street. He set her carefully on the bed in the spare room, Sarah's old craft room, still with the unfinished quilt on the chair in the corner. The girl's silver blue eyes opened for the first time. She looked at the ceiling. Then slowly, carefully, she turned her head and looked at Marcus. Her eyes were deep purple, like the sky just before full dark, and they were full of something that looked very much like fear. Marcus pulled the old wooden chair close to the bed and sat down. "Hey," he said quietly, "you're safe now." She didn't understand the words, but something in her face changed, just slightly, and Marcus Cole, widower, mechanic, nobody special, just sat there, in the quiet room, in the fading evening light, and he stayed. Nobody in that town, nobody in that government building, nobody watching the news that night, knew that this moment, this one quiet moment in a small spare room in Colorado, had just changed the future of the entire galaxy. But it had. It really had. The first night was the hardest. Vielle did not sleep. She lay in the small bed in the spare room and stared at the ceiling for hours. Her purple eyes were wide open, moving slowly around the room, studying every corner, every shadow, every small detail. The unfinished quilt on the chair, the old photographs on the wall, the little clay pot on the windowsill with a dead plant in it. She was trying to understand where she was. More importantly, she was trying to understand why she was still alive. On her homeworld, the rules were simple. The Vreth were a powerful species. Strong, fast, intelligent. They had built an empire that stretched across 11 star systems. They had technology that humans could not even dream of. They were feared and respected across the galaxy, but they had one law that was older than all their technology, older than their empire, older than their ships and their weapons. The weak do not survive. It was not just a saying. It was written into their legal code, their culture, their family structure. If a Vreth was born with a disability, or developed one, they were given a choice. Either find a way to become useful again, or be left behind. Vielle had been left behind. She was 14 years old when the accident happened, a training exercise gone wrong, a fall from a great height, and when she woke up in the medical bay, she could not feel her legs. The doctors told her the damage was permanent. Her father did not visit after that. Her mother came once, stood in the doorway, looked at her with an expression that was not cruel, just sad and practical. The way someone looks when they have already made a decision and are just waiting for the right moment to say it out loud. 3 weeks later, they put her in a pod and loaded her onto a ship. They told her the ship was taking her to a medical facility on another planet, a place where she could get better treatment. She believed them. She was 14, and she still believed her parents. The ship launched, and then something went wrong. The navigation system failed. The ship drifted off course into human space, and then the systems started failing one by one, and the ship fell, and Vielle fell with it, and woke up in a small room with a dead plant on the windowsill and a human man sitting in a chair next to her bed. On the second morning, Marcus made breakfast. He made eggs, toast, and orange juice. He put it on a tray and carried it to Vielle's room, knocked on the open door even though she couldn't go anywhere, and set it on the small table beside her bed. "I don't know what you eat," he said, "so I made what I had. If it's poison to you, just don't eat it. I'll figure something else out." Vielle stared at the tray. She stared at the eggs, at the toast, at the small glass of orange juice with a little ice in it. Then she looked at Marcus. Marcus pointed at himself. "Marcus," he said slowly. Then he pointed at her. She said nothing. He nodded, like that was fine, pulled the old wooden chair close and sat down with his own plate of eggs, and they sat together in silence while Marcus ate and Vielle stared at her food. After a long time, she picked up the toast. She smelled it first, carefully, then took a very small bite, chewed slowly. Her expression didn't change, but she took another bite. Marcus looked at his eggs and smiled, very quietly, where she couldn't see. The government check-ins happened every 3 days. Agent Reeves would come to the house, walk through every room, check the cameras. ask Marcus a list of questions from a clipboard, and then look at Vielle for a long moment before leaving. Is she communicating? Reeves asked on the first check-in. Not yet, Marcus said. Is she eating? Toast eggs? She won't touch orange juice, seems to like apples though. Reeves wrote something on her clipboard. And her behavior? Any aggression? Marcus thought about it. She threw a pillow at me yesterday. Reeves looked up. That's because I walked in without knocking, Marcus said. I deserved it, I knock now. Reeves stared at him for a moment, then wrote something else on her clipboard and left. Vielle tried to escape on the 5th day. She had been watching Marcus carefully, learning his routine. He woke up at 6, made coffee, went to his garage to work until noon, came back for lunch, returned to the garage, came inside at 6 in the evening, made dinner, sat on the porch for an hour, went to bed. On the 5th day during the garage hours. Vielle pulled herself to the edge of the bed. She was strong in her upper body. The Vreth were naturally strong, and she had been doing this quietly for days, building her strength back after weeks in the failing pod. She pulled herself off the bed onto the floor and dragged herself across the room into the hallway toward the front door. She got the door open, she got herself onto the porch, and then she stopped, because the world outside was enormous and strange and completely silent except for the sound of wind in the trees. There was a long road going in both directions, flat fields on either side, a sky so wide and blue it almost didn't look real. She had no wheelchair, she could not walk, she could not run, she did not know where she was. She did not know which direction led to anywhere. And even if she found somewhere to go, what then? She was a silver-blue alien with white hair in rural Colorado. She sat on the porch for a long moment. Then she heard the garage door open. Marcus walked out, saw the front door open, walked around to the porch, and found Vielle sitting there, looking out at the fields. He didn't say anything dramatic. He didn't look angry. He didn't rush over to bring her back inside. He just walked to the porch, sat down in his chair, and looked out at the fields too. After a long silence, he said, "Pretty, isn't it?" Vielle looked at him. "The fields," he said. "Sarah, my wife, she used to sit out here every morning. Said it was the best part of the day, just the quiet." Vielle didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone, the way his voice changed slightly when he said the word, wife. She had heard that tone before, in her mother's voice. When her mother talked about things that used to be good, they sat together on the porch for almost an hour. Then Marcus got up, went inside, and came back out pushing an old wheelchair. He set it beside her carefully, didn't push her into it, just left it there, and went back to the garage. Vielle looked at the wheelchair for a long time. Then she pulled herself into it. She tried to escape one more time on the 9th day. This time she made it further, almost half a mile down the road before the wheelchair got stuck in a patch of gravel. She was sitting there trying to work the wheels free when Marcus's old truck pulled up beside her. He leaned out the window. "Need a hand?" She stared at him with her purple eyes. Her expression was the same one she always wore, careful, guarded, giving nothing away. Marcus got out, freed the wheelchair from the gravel, and then stood there. "You want to keep going?" he asked. "I'll drive behind you. Make sure no one bothers you. It's a long road, though. Nearest town is 11 miles, and people are going to stare." Vielle looked down the road, then back at Marcus. "Or," he said simply, "dinner's at 6. I'm making soup." He got back in the truck and drove slowly back to the house. Vielle sat on the road for 10 minutes. Then she turned the wheelchair around. It was on the 14th day that things changed. Marcus didn't know she was awake. It was past midnight. He was sitting in the living room in the dark, just the small lamp on, looking at a photograph in a frame, the one from the mantel, him and Sarah on their wedding day, young and laughing, her in a white dress, him in a suit that didn't quite fit right. He didn't cry, he never cried. He just looked at it the way you look at something you miss so much that missing it has become just a normal part of breathing. Vielle had come to the doorway in her wheelchair quietly, meaning to go to the kitchen for water, but she stopped when she saw him. She watched him for a long moment, and something moved in her chest that she didn't have a word for. Something she hadn't felt since she was very small, before the accident. Before her parents' faces changed, she recognized what Marcus was feeling. Not because she had been taught it, but because she had felt it herself. Every night in that pod, drifting through space completely alone, she recognized loneliness. The next morning at breakfast, Vial pointed at Marcus. "Marcus," she said carefully. In her own accent, her voice low and slightly musical, like two notes played at the same time, Marcus looked up from his coffee. She pointed at herself. "Vial." Marcus set his coffee down slowly. "Vial," he repeated. She nodded, just once. Marcus picked his coffee back up, looked out the window at the morning fields. "Good name," he said quietly, and that was all. No big moment, no dramatic music, just two lonely people sitting at a kitchen table in the morning light, saying each other's names for the first time. But something had shifted. Both of them felt it. Something small and fragile and important had just begun. Neither of them knew that far above the house, far above the blue Colorado sky, far above the clouds and the atmosphere and the silence of space. A ship was watching, dark and still, running on silent power. No lights, no signals. A Vreth scout ship, a scout, and inside it, a figure in dark armor stood at the observation window, looking down at the small house on Elm Street. His name was Commander Drayle, and he was Vael's uncle. He had not come to rescue her. He had come to confirm that she was still useless. But what he saw through the long-range scanner made his jaw tighten. The girl was in a wheelchair, yes. She still could not walk, yes. But she was outside on the porch, in the morning sunlight, and the human was next to her. And she was pointing at things, at the fields, at the trees, at a bird sitting on the fence post. And the human was telling her what they were called, and she was, almost, smiling. Commander Drayle stared at that image for a long time, then he turned away from the window. "She is compromised," he said to the soldier behind him. His voice was flat and cold. "The human has gotten into her head. We cannot allow this to continue." "What are your orders, Commander?" Drayle looked back at the window one more time, at the small house, at the two figures on the porch. "Prepare the extraction team," he said quietly. "They will be separated." Down on the porch, Marcus pointed at a red bird on the fence. "Cardinal," he said. Vial repeated it carefully. "Al." Marcus nodded. Neither of them looked up at the sky. Neither of them knew what was coming. But it was coming. Fast it started with a sound, a low hum, so deep that people felt it in their chests before they heard it with their ears. Dogs across Millfield started barking all at once. Birds flew off every tree and wire and rooftop in every direction. Car alarms went off up and down every street. Marcus felt it first in his coffee cup, the dark liquid trembling, making small rings on the surface, like something enormous was vibrating the air itself. He looked at his cup. Then he looked out the kitchen window. The sky was wrong. It was morning. Clear blue, not a cloud anywhere, but the light was changing, getting darker, not like a storm, not like clouds rolling in, but like something very large was passing between the earth and the sun. Marcus stood up slowly from the kitchen table. Vial was already at the window. Her face was completely still, but her hands were gripping the wheels of her wheelchair so tight that her silver blue knuckles had gone almost white. She recognized that hum. She had grown up with that hum. "Vail," Marcus said quietly. "What is that?" She didn't answer. She couldn't find the English words fast enough. Instead, she just turned her wheelchair and looked at him. And what Marcus saw in her purple eyes was something he had never seen there before. Not fear. She had hidden fear well for weeks now. This was something else. This was dread. The Vreth ship descended slowly over Millfield. It was massive, 3 times the size of the crashed ship from weeks ago. Dark gray and angular with those same faintly glowing lines along its surface. It moved without sound except for that deep, chest-shaking hum. It blocked out the sun over the eastern half of town like a storm cloud made of metal. People ran into the streets, phones came out, Everyone recording, everyone talking at once. Within minutes, the military was scrambling. Trucks and helicopters moving fast. Sirens in the distance getting louder. Agent Reeves was on the phone before she was even fully dressed, running to her car, barking orders. But the Vreth ship didn't attack. It just stopped, hovering low over the field at the edge of town, the same field where the first ship had crashed, and it waited. Marcus's panic button went off at the same moment his phone rang. It was Reeves. Marcus listened to me very carefully. Her voice was controlled but tight. Do not go outside, lock your doors, we have people coming to your location right now. I can see the ship from my kitchen window, Marcus said. I know, just stay inside. We are handling. Are they here for Vale? A pause. Too long. Marcus. Are they here for her? He said again. His voice was calm, the way it always was, but there was something underneath it now. Something solid and immovable. Another pause. We believe so, yes, Reeves said quietly. Marcus, there's going to be pressure, from very high up, to hand her over. I need you to understand that this is bigger than— No, Marcus said. Marcus. No, he said again, simple and flat, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. He hung up. He went to Vial's room. She was at her window, looking up at the ship, her white hair catching the strange half-light that came through the glass. Her face unreadable. Marcus pulled the wooden chair close and sat down. They're here for you, he said. She turned to look at him. She had learned enough English in 3 weeks to understand most simple sentences now. She was quick that way, frightening quick. Marcus had started to realize that Vial was probably the smartest person he had ever met. Yes, she said quietly. Are they going to hurt you? She looked at him for a long moment, then looked back at the ship. They will take me, she said carefully, choosing each word. Take me back. And then— She stopped, couldn't find the word. She made a gesture with her hand. Flat final. Marcus understood. His jaw tightened. That's not going to happen, he said. Vial looked at him, and for a moment something flickered across her face. Something confused and wondering, like a person who has heard a word in a foreign language that they don't have a translation for. Marcus, she said carefully. They are very powerful. I know. You are. She paused, not trying to be cruel, just honest. One person. I know that too, he said. He stood up, went to the front door, and opened it. The street outside was chaos. Military trucks everywhere, soldiers in formation, helicopters circling, news drones trying to get past the perimeter, people watching from windows and doorways, the Vreth ship humming overhead, casting its enormous shadow over everything. A military officer Marcus didn't recognize came running up the porch steps. Mr. Cole, you need to get back inside. This is my porch, Marcus said. Sir, we have a situation. I know you have a situation, Marcus said calmly. I'm looking at it. The officer stopped, looked at this old mechanic standing on his porch with his arms crossed, staring up at an alien warship without flinching. Sir, I need you to understand. There are people above my pay grade who are talking about giving them what they came for. If it prevents a conflict— She has a name, Marcus said quietly. The officer blinked. Her name is Vial, Marcus said, and she's not going anywhere. The communication came 2 hours later, a signal from the Vreth ship, translated by the government's emergency linguistics team, broadcast through every screen and speaker in the military perimeter. The voice was deep, layered, like two voices speaking in perfect unison. We are the Vreth. We have come for what belongs to us. Return the female. She is Vreth property. You have 1 hour to comply. If you do not comply, we will take her by force. Your weapons cannot stop us. Your governments cannot negotiate with us. This is not a discussion. This is a notification. And then silence. 1 hour. The government response was immediate and predictable. Emergency calls between world leaders, military advisors, scientists, diplomats who had never had to do anything like this before. The conclusion they were moving toward was the one that scared Marcus the most. Give her back. It was the safe choice, the logical choice. Avoid a conflict with a species that had already shown they had technology centuries beyond anything on Earth. Reeves came to the house personally this time. She sat at Marcus's kitchen table with tired eyes and a face that had made a decision it didn't want to make. Marcus. No. Just listen. I said no, Diane. It was the first time he had used her first name, she noticed. If we don't hand her over, they will take her anyway. And people could get hurt. Our people, your neighbors. Reeves said. She wasn't being cold. She was being honest. Is that what you want? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Let me talk to them. Reeves stared at him. What? The Vreth? The ship? Whatever communication system you have. Let me talk to them. Marcus, you're a mechanic from Colorado. You can't just... Let me talk to them, he said again. Reeves made 3 phone calls. There was a lot of shouting on the other end. But 20 minutes later, Marcus Cole was sitting in the back of a military communications truck with a headset on and a very nervous translator beside him. The channel opened. The layered voice came through immediately. Who speaks? Marcus leaned forward. My name is Marcus Cole. I live in the house where Vale has been staying. A pause. You are human. Yes. You have no authority here, human. This is not your matter. She's in my house, Marcus said. That makes it my matter. Another pause. Longer this time. The female is Vreth. She belongs with her people. She was left in a broken ship, Marcus said. Alone. With no food, no water, no help coming. Your people didn't want her. You left her to die because she can't walk. So with respect, I don't think you get to call her yours anymore. The silence that followed was so long that the nervous translator looked at Marcus with wide eyes, like he had just said something that might get them all killed. Then the layered voice spoke again, and it was colder now. You are one human. You have no power, no fleet, no weapons that can threaten us. Why do you resist? Marcus thought about that for a moment. Then he said something that no one in that truck expected. Because she's my kid now, and I don't care how big your ship is. Something happened then that nobody expected. A new signal came through on the communications channel, not from the Vreth ship, from somewhere else, from multiple somewhere elses. The military technicians scrambled, reading their screens with wide eyes. Sir, one of them said to the officer in charge, his voice strange and disbelieving. We're getting signals. Multiple signals. From other ships, not Vreth. Different signatures. Different species. There are a lot of them. How many? The officer said. The technician looked up. 17. 17 ships, appearing one by one on the radar screens, coming out of positions they had apparently been holding for some time, surrounding the Vreth ship in a wide formation, and then one clear signal came through, in perfect translated English, from a species called the Ethon, a species that had been watching human space for decades from a respectful distance. We have been observing this situation. We have heard the humans' words we wish to speak. The Vreth do not speak for the galaxy. They speak only for themselves, and the galaxy has grown very tired of their voice. The Vreth ship shifted, for the first time. Just slightly. The hum changed pitch, and everyone watching knew what that meant. The Vreth were surprised. Back in the house, Vael had been watching through her window the whole time. She had seen the military truck. She had watched Marcus go inside it. She didn't know what he was saying, but she knew what he was doing. He was fighting for her. Not with weapons, not with power he didn't have, just with words and stubbornness. And the same quiet refusal to move that she had watched him carry every single day since she arrived. Vael looked down at her hands in her lap. She thought about her father, standing in the doorway of the medical bay, not coming in. She thought about her mother's face, already decided. She thought about the pod drifting in darkness, alone. And then she looked up at the 17 ships on the distant horizon, shapes she could barely make out from the window, and the one enormous Vreth ship that for the first time in her life seemed smaller than it used to. She made a decision. She turned her wheelchair toward the door. When Marcus came back to the house 20 minutes later, Vielle was on the porch. She was sitting very straight in her wheelchair, white hair bright in the afternoon light, purple eyes clear and steady. In her hand she was holding the small communication device that Agent Reeves had left in the house for emergencies. She held it out to Marcus. "I want to speak," she said, "to my uncle, to the commander." Marcus looked at her, at the steadiness in her face, at something new in her eyes that had not been there 3 weeks ago, something that looked like courage, that had found solid ground to stand on. He took the device and nodded. "I'll get you the channel," he said. Above the house, above the town, above the clouds, 17 species were watching. A paralyzed alien girl on a porch in Colorado, and a human mechanic standing beside her. The whole galaxy holding its breath, waiting to hear what she would say. The whole world was watching, not just Millfield, not just Colorado, not just America, the entire planet, every news channel, every screen, every phone, every television in every home in every country was showing the same image. A small porch on Elm Street, a paralyzed alien girl in a wheelchair, and a human mechanic standing beside her. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even the soldiers in the street had gone completely still. Even the helicopters seemed to slow down. Even the wind stopped, like the earth itself was holding its breath. Vielle held the communication device in both hands. She looked at it for a long moment. Then she looked at Marcus. "If I speak," she said carefully, "it will not be easy. They will be angry." "I know," Marcus said. "They may not listen. I know that too." "Then why?" She stopped, searching for the words. "Why do you want me to try?" Marcus looked at her, straight and honest the way he always did. "Because you have things to say," he said simply, "and you've been quiet long enough." Vielle looked at him for a long moment. Then she pressed the button on the device. The channel opened with a sharp click. Commander Drail's voice came through immediately, cold and layered, like two stones grinding together. "So, the Broken One speaks." Vielle didn't flinch. She sat very straight in her wheelchair. Her white hair caught the afternoon light, her purple eyes steady and clear. "Yes," she said. "The Broken One speaks. Listen carefully, Uncle, because I will not say this twice." A silence, sharp and surprised. Commander Drail had not expected that tone. Nobody who knew the old Vale would have expected that tone. The girl who had drifted alone in a failing pod, quiet, frightened, defeated, was not the person speaking now. "You have come here with your ship and your soldiers and your warnings," Vielle continued, her voice growing steadier with every word. "You have told these humans they cannot stop you. You have told them you will take me by force. You have spoken about power and authority and what belongs to the Vreth." She paused. "But Uncle, you left me in a broken ship alone, with no food, no water, no message, no goodbye. You left me to die in the dark between the stars because I could not walk. That is what the Vreth decided I was worth." Another silence, even longer. "The law is," Drail began. "I know what the law is," Vale said. "I grew up with the law. The weak do not survive. I heard it my whole life. I believed it. When I lost my legs, I believed I deserved to be left behind. I believed you were right." She stopped. And when she spoke again, her voice was quieter but harder. "And then a human made me breakfast. On 17 different ships above the earth in 17 different command rooms, beings of 17 different species were listening. Some of them had translators working fast. Some of them understood enough of the language already. All of them were completely still, because this was not what they had expected. They had come to this corner of the galaxy for many different reasons. Some had old arguments with the Vreth Empire. Some had been watching human space with quiet curiosity for years. Some had simply followed the others when the signal started, wanting to see, but none of them had expected this. A young Vreth girl, paralyzed, sitting on a human porch, talking to an empire. "A human made me breakfast," Vale said again. "Every morning, every single morning, he did not ask if I was useful. He did not ask what I could give him. He did not test me or study me or put me in a room to see what I was worth. He made eggs and toast and he set them on a table and he sat down and he ate with me. She paused. He built me a wheelchair, with his own hands, from old parts in his garage, because my pod was broken and I could not move. He did not have to do that. Nobody told him to do that. He just did it, because I needed it. When I tried to leave, and twice, he did not stop me. He did not lock the doors. He did not threaten me. He just said, "Dinner is at 6. A sound came from somewhere in the military crowd outside. It took Marcus a moment to realize what it was. Someone was laughing softly, not making fun, just recognizing something true. He sat with me in the dark. Vale continued. When I had nightmares, when I woke up not knowing where I was, when I was afraid. He did not tell me to be stronger. He did not tell me weakness was shameful. He just sat there, in the chair beside my bed, until I fell asleep again. Her voice was perfectly controlled, but her hands on the wheels of the chair were trembling slightly. Uncle, you are Vreth. You are powerful. You have a great ship and great weapons, and the law of our people behind you. But you have never once in my life sat beside me in the dark. Commander Drayle did not respond immediately. The silence on the channel stretched out for so long that the nervous translator in the military truck started checking his equipment, worried the connection had dropped. It hadn't. Drayle was still there. He was just quiet. In his command room, alone at the observation window, he was looking at the image on his long-range scanner, the small porch, the girl in the wheelchair, the human standing beside her, one hand resting on the back of her chair, not pushing, not controlling, just there. Something moved in Drayle's chest that he had not felt in a very long time. He pushed it away. You have been changed by them, he said finally, his voice carefully flat. You think like a human now. You have forgotten what you are. No, Vale said. I have remembered what I am. I am Vale. I am 14 years old. I am paralyzed, and I will probably never walk again. And I am sitting on a porch in the sunlight talking to the most powerful commander in the Vreth fleet. She let that sit for a moment. And I am not afraid of you. Then the Ethon signal came through again. The voice was calm and ancient sounding, like someone who had been alive long enough to stop being impressed by power. Commander Drayle of the Vreth, the Ethon speak. We have heard the young one's words. We have been watching this planet for some time. We have watched these humans with interest. They are young, they are loud, they make many mistakes. A pause. But they do this, the Ethan voice said. This thing that the girl described. This sitting beside someone in the dark. This making of breakfast. This building of wheelchairs from old parts. They do it constantly, for each other. For strangers. Apparently now. For alien children they have never met before. We have no word for it in military language. But we believe you know the word, Commander. It is the word your law was built to destroy. Another pause. Compassion. The word sat in the air on every channel, in every ship, in every language it was translated into. The Vreth law of abandonment, the Ethon continued, has been a matter of galactic concern for some time. Today it has become a matter of galactic record. We are watching. All 17 of us are watching, and we will continue to watch. Whatever you decide to do next, Commander, the galaxy will see it. The Vreth ship hummed. It shifted slightly in the air, the way a large animal shifts its weight when it is deciding something. Everyone on the ground held their breath. Marcus put his hand on the back of Vial's wheelchair, not moving her, just there. Vial sat straight and still and waited, and then the Vreth ship began to rise, slowly at first, then faster, moving upward and backward, away from Millfield, away from the field, away from the small porch on Elm Street. The humming changed pitch as it went, getting higher and thinner until it faded into silence, and then it was gone. The sky was blue again. The 17 other ships held their positions for a moment longer. Then they too began to move, quietly, calmly, spreading apart like birds after a storm, returning to their own paths. One final signal came from the Ethan ship before it disappeared. Well done, human. Well done, young Vreth. The galaxy is grateful. And then the sky was empty and wide and perfectly blue. And Millfield, Colorado was just a small town again. The crowd in the street was completely silent for a long moment. Then someone started clapping. Just one person at first, a soldier near the edge of the perimeter. Then another, then more, then everyone, all at once, filling the street with sound. People in windows, people on doorsteps, people who had been scared 10 minutes ago and were now just glad. Vial looked at the street full of clapping humans. She had never seen anything like it. On her world, victories were celebrated with displays of strength, weapons raised, voices loud and aggressive, power shown to those who might challenge you. This was different. This was just people, happy, together, clapping their hands. She looked up at Marcus. "Why do they do that?" she asked. Marcus looked at the crowd, then back at her. "It's what we do when something good happens," he said. "When we're happy for someone. They are happy for me." "Yeah," he said. "They are." Vial looked back at the crowd, at all the human faces, different colors, different ages, all looking at her porch, all clapping, and for the first time since she had arrived on this strange blue planet. Vial smiled, a real one, small and careful, like something that hadn't been used in a very long time and needed to move slowly, but real. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council convened. It was the first time in recorded history that Earth had been formally included in a galactic proceeding. The governments of the world scrambled to prepare. Diplomats who had spent their careers negotiating trade agreements and border disputes suddenly found themselves representing humanity to 17 alien species. They were terrified. They asked Marcus if he wanted to attend. He said he'd rather stay home. But Vial went. She sat before the Galactic Council in her wheelchair, dressed in simple clothes, human clothes, jeans, and a gray sweater Marcus had bought her because she said the alien formal wear the government offered was uncomfortable. And she spoke for 2 hours. She spoke about the Vreth abandonment law, about what it meant to grow up under it, about what it did to a person when the people who were supposed to love you decided you were not worth keeping. She spoke about the pod, about drifting alone in the dark, and then she spoke about Marcus, about breakfast, about the wheelchair built from old parts, about the door that was always open, about sitting in the chair beside her bed. "I want to tell you something about humans," she said to the council. "They are not the most powerful species. They are not the most advanced. Their ships are slow and their weapons are small, and they have only just discovered that the rest of us exist." She paused, looking at every face in that enormous room. "But they show up," she said. "When someone needs help, they show up. They don't ask if you are worthy. They don't ask what you can give them. They just show up and they make you breakfast and they build you a wheelchair and they sit beside you in the dark. I do not know what you call that in your languages," she said. "We call it love." The Vreth abandonment law was struck from the galactic legal record 4 months later. Commander Drail did not fight it. He sent one message, to Vial personally, through the official Galactic Council channels, 2 sentences only. "I watched the speech, I am sorry." Vale read it 3 times, then she showed it to Marcus. He read it, nodded slowly, handed it back. "That's a start," he said. On a quiet evening in late autumn, Marcus and Vale sat on the porch. The fields were gold and brown now. The sky that particular shade of deep blue that only happens in October. A few birds moving south in long, loose lines above the tree line. Marcus had his cold coffee, the same cold coffee he always made and never finished. Vial had a mug of hot apple cider, her new favorite thing. They sat in comfortable silence the way they had learned to do, the way 2 people sit together when they don't need to fill every moment with words. After a long time, Vial spoke. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Always." She looked at her cider, turning the mug slowly in her hands. "That first day when you asked them to let you take me, you didn't know me. You had never spoken to me. You didn't know if I was dangerous or difficult or—" She paused. "Or what I was." "No," Marcus agreed. "So why?" she said. "Why did you do it? The real reason, not the simple answer." Marcus was quiet for a moment. looking out at the gold fields. Then he said, "Sarah and I, we always wanted kids. Never happened. We tried for a long time. Then she got sick, and then she was gone. And I had this house with a spare room and a wheelchair in the garage and nobody to take care of." He stopped. "And then a spaceship fell out of the sky," he said quietly, "and there was a kid who needed somebody." He looked at Vielle. "I didn't pick you because you were alien or because you were special or because I wanted to be a hero. I picked you because you were alone, and I knew what alone felt like. And I didn't want you to feel it anymore." Vielle looked at him for a long moment. Her purple eyes were bright in the evening light. "Marcus," she said softly. "Yeah. I do not feel alone anymore." Marcus looked back at the fields, his jaw tight the way it got when he was feeling something he didn't have words for. "Good," he said quietly. "That's good." A long, comfortable silence. Then Vielle said, very carefully, trying out words she had been practicing quietly for days, "Thank you. For everything, Dad." Marcus went very still. He didn't look at her right away. He looked at the fields, at the birds, at the October sky. He took a slow breath. Then he reached over and put his hand over hers on the arm of her wheelchair. And he didn't say anything, because some things don't need words. Above the porch, above the golden fields, above the wide October sky, the galaxy turned quietly. 17 species going about their lives. Laws changed, councils meeting, old empires rethinking old ways. All because of one crashed ship, one spare room, one wheelchair built from old parts, and one human who showed up. The way humans do. They abandoned her because she could not walk. They never imagined she would one day make the entire galaxy stand up, and they never imagined that the one person who would give her the strength to do it would be a mechanic from Colorado, with cold coffee and a spare room and a very big heart. The end.